Hey guys, welcome back to another Fall Obsession podcast episode. My name is Sam Thrash. I'm your show host over here. Thanks for pressing play on another one of our episodes. This week, my guest is Chad Davis. He is the founder of the archery bow hunting apparel brand called BOWADX. They are a faith-based company that makes some pretty awesome apparel for everyone that loves archery. You guys got to go check him out. And then he also started a new brand, a new company in recent years called EUROADX, which makes like a custom hardware mounting system for your Euro mounts. He based the whole thing off of what he felt like some current concepts that he had was lacking, and did what a lot of people dream of doing in just creating a product that worked better, and is doing very well with it. So we talk about all of this inspiration behind these two brands and the journey that it's been for him to form these organizations and these companies in the hunting and outdoor industry. Chad is also one of those guys that, man, I felt like I connected really well with him, and he's an awesome dude to talk to, just a great human being, and we just get to talking hunting and archery and all that kind of stuff, and the meat of this podcast is just that, talking about hunting public land, hunting private land, hunting whitetails, bow hunting, all that good stuff. So this is a really great conversation. It's a wholesome conversation, and one that I hope any bow hunter or whitetail hunter out there finds some value in and enjoys. So this is going to be a good episode. Before we get chatting here and start the conversation, you guys know the drill. If you've been here before, got to do a little bit of housekeeping to get things going. Want to point you guys in the direction of our YouTube channel to start things off. We have a lot of awesome content coming to that YouTube channel, including the podcast videos. If you guys like watching our shows, we also do some live streams whenever we record some of these podcasts. This podcast with Chad was a live streamed episode. So you guys can subscribe to the YouTube and get notified whenever we have one of those live streams starting if you want to tune into a podcast while we're recording it. We also keep the chat open if that's the case, so that you guys can comment and ask questions during the episode. That's an opportunity right there for you guys to do that. So I want to make sure you guys check that out. Whatever platform you are streaming this podcast episode on, please make sure you follow, like, subscribe, whatever they have up there for you. Turn your notifications on if that's an option. That way you know every time we drop a new podcast episode. We drop on Mondays. Podcast videos hit the YouTube on Thursdays. Social media, all the major platforms. Guys, go check out Fall Obsession, or Fall Obsession Media might be the handle. We are a hunting and outdoor media production company, and we post daily with educational topics and content for you guys to look over. Frequent updates from the field from our team across the country. We are in probably close to 20 different states right now, so we cover a lot of ground and a lot of different topics relevant to you guys that are tuning into the show. So again, social media, be sure you guys are following along. FallObsession.com is where every avenue of all that content I've talked about comes together, and that's where you guys can check out all the stuff that we got going on, our films, our shows, our podcasts, our gear reviews, our educational articles. All that stuff is found on that website. You guys can pick you up some apparel if you'd like. Got a team working on some new designs right now for us here at Fall Obsession, so I'm super excited for those things to come out. So again, fallobsession.com, head on over there. And last but not least, if you guys haven't heard of Carbon TV, go check it out. It is a free hunting and outdoor streaming platform where you will find hundreds of different hunting shows and podcasts and films streaming on there on demand. Like I said, for free. You guys can just log on and start streaming immediately. You will find 4 different Fall Obsession produced shows on that platform. This podcast, our staff-inspired video podcast series called Couch Chats, is on Carbon TV, as well as our 2 different hunting shows, Texas Dirt and Midwest Mindset. Guys, go check it out and start streaming today. Be sure that you check out the description on this podcast episode for a discount code from Chad and the team over at EUROADX. He's hooking some Fall Obsession podcast listeners up, saving a few dollars on their new products. So again, that should be in the description on this episode. Don't miss that. And with that, we're going to get Chad in here and start our conversation. You guys are listening to another Fall Obsession podcast.
Oh, you got her, dude. She's down. Let's go.
Dude, I just shot a deer of a lifetime.
Freaking smoked him.
One with nature, and if you're a believer, one with God.
Definitely gets your heart pumping. Boy, you are in trouble.
Fall Obsession Podcast.
Hey everyone, welcome back to another Fall Obsession Podcast. My name is Sam, I'm hosting you guys. And this week I'm joined by Chad Davis. He is the founder of BOWADX. Welcome to Fall Obsession Podcast, man.
Happy to be here, buddy.
Yeah. I'm excited, man. I feel like I don't know you very well, and at the same time I've already had a really great conversation with you, kind of getting this thing rolling and everything, and I'm super stoked to have you on here and get to talk about the brand and everything that you're doing and everything you're building. It's going to be awesome.
Yeah, man, I'm super excited. Yeah, and it's way better in my office in here versus being outside.
Did we get you away from the heat?
Oh, I bet I lost 5 or 6 pounds about 3-4 hours ago. I was trying to get a shower. I mean, I was already soaking wet and trying to. We bought a quarter of a cow so we've got some meat coming tomorrow. And I thought this is a great time to clean out the freezer and do some garage cleaning. And holy smokes, it was an inferno in there.
Where do you live yourself?
So I live about 45 minutes south of Nashville.
Okay.
You've got Nashville, kind of Brentwood area, then like Cool Springs and Franklin, and then Columbia. We're like I say, we're down on I-65 south of Nashville, and we've got a few acres out in the country, and I've got few deer in the yard right now. I'm just right before I went in here, so that's always a good sign. But
oh yeah,
but yeah, man. So it's hot and humid.
Absolutely, man. I'm down here in North Texas, so I know I know the feeling. I feel like our area is hot and humid, and then man, I went down for work. I guess last week I was down the Houston area for a few days, and man, it made what I have up here feel very comfortable. It was crazy.
Yeah. I lived in Waco for a couple of years, so that's been 20 some odd years ago, and I remember I thought the same thing. I would do some cardio and what have you, and I went down to Houston, and same way. I was like, holy cow! I mean, it was just terrible. And not only that, I think the first time I ever went to Houston, it was right before Father's Day. So I was going to get my dad a Father's Day gift, card. And I stopped the car. I had some buddies with me, and we go into the mall. I can't remember which mall it was. I go in the mall and come out. My car was stolen. So
no!
I had been in Houston for maybe 20 minutes, and
wow.
So that was a rough few days.
Oh my gosh! Yeah, that's that's like the stereotype story right there for Houston.
Yeah, they got it all on tape, and I watched the whole thing go down. And I mean, in 3.5 minutes, they were in. They watched me to go into the mall, I guess, and you can see that, and they just make a beeline and broke in and took it. But
oh man,
yeah. So that was my experience with Houston. So
oh man, that sucks, man. Well, yeah, I don't know if I've ever started a podcast talking about stolen cars in Houston, but check that one off the list.
Yeah. They had a good time with it. I mean, I won't go into details, but they I guess they wanted the car to be found, and they did all kinds of terrible. I mean, it was a lot of stuff to the inside and out, and I was actually headed to. At the time, I think Mitsubishi Montero Sports were, kind of popular. I thought, man, I want to get one of those. And I no joke, I was headed out to go to a dealership to go look at those. And all of a sudden, I get a call from some police, officer, and he, said, "I think we found your car." I'm like, "Oh man!" By this time, I didn't want to.
Yeah, you already had your mind set.
It had so much damage to it, and you name it, from inside and out. So. Yeah, but that was a nice fiasco to go through. So
yeah, that's always a fun ordeal for sure.
Yeah.
Well, I want to give you the chance to to kind of introduce yourself and tell us where your journey as just a hunter and a bow hunter specifically began. I will preface that by telling our listeners we're live on YouTube with this one. If you guys are tuned in to the live show, feel free to ask questions or whatever in the chat. We will be monitoring that. But Chad, where did it start for you? How'd you get into bow hunting?
Yeah, so man, I started when I was, I guess I was probably around 10 or 11, and back then, the Pearson bows were kind of popular, Bear, and there was a brand called Point Blank. I don't even know who made Point Blank, and I don't even think they're still around. Yeah, that my first bow was actually a Pearson, and then back then, you draw it, and the arrow would just do a rainbow. I mean,
you got to lob it in there.
Yeah, it was just, I mean, I'm sure that I missed so many deer back then from deer jumping the string, so went and finally went from this Pearson to a Point Blank bow, and man, I just had some success on the family farm, and just got eaten up with it. I'll say that lasted for a few years, and then I kind of shifted gears a little bit. I mean, I've always been big into hunting. I used to trap. Dad would take me in the mornings at around 4:00 in the morning on school days. And Dad, he was a principal at a elementary school, so I'd usually drive to school with him to work. But we'd go and run trap lines in the morning and all that good stuff beforehand. And we did all that. So I was big into it. But I kind of really believe it. I got kind of shifted into a different sport where I got into bodybuilding around age 13. I was second smallest kid in school, got picked on a lot. The typical story. I guess a lot of guys go through that, and started working out, and was very blessed to have won a number of shows back then, and what have you, and titles, but then I kind of tie all this together. Went from that to actually, it's crazy because I've got ADD. So you mentioned North Texas, and I used to own a fitness center, and in just south of Nashville, personal training center. I used to travel with country music, stars, all this stuff, all around the country and what have you. Well, ended up, I was in North Texas, close to Denton, and I can't remember the exact area there. And there was a huge ranch. I mean, this thing was just massive. Ended up, one of my old clients had talked to me. She lost 136 pounds when I worked with her. She dropped a lot of weight. Like, I don't know how I can thank you, but one day I'm going to introduce you to your wife one day. Well, I was at that ranch for a couple of months or so, and she called me. It's like, you got to meet somebody. Long story short, it ended up being my wife. And met her, and I guess where I was going with this, because for a while, between the bodybuilding and the dating scene, I kind of guess I went from chasing 4-legged deer to 2-legged deer. and because it was what it was. And so when I met my wife, I went. Basically, that allowed me to hone everything straight back into deer hunting, because I'm not, and when I say I do, I mean it, and I'm not going to be out there looking at other women and what have you. So that allowed me to really, because I've got this addictive personality, massively addictive personality, and so I got back into archery again. And she tells me I false advertised because I really I hunted, but not that much, was dating her. And but man, I got into it, and really. So this was I took a job with a company that I work with full time, and I got transferred down to Florida. And archery in Florida is it's huge. I mean, at least around Jacksonville, which is where I was. So got into it to a point where, I had, between the bow press, everything, I learned every single thing about every bow. I was going through bows, honest to goodness, probably one bow a month or two.
Oh, wow.
I buy, sell, because I just wanted to learn everything about them. And so that got me back into it again. And then had a chance to went up. Well, so I'm trying to tie all this together, but
No, you're
once
good.
once all that occurred, I'm in clinical diagnostic sales full time. So I work with hospitals and labs and what have you. And then I own BOWADX and EUROADX. We can talk about that. But I driving around, I kept hearing this commercial about all these guys who started something in their garages and how they made this, like Bill Gates and Jobs, Steve Jobs, all these different ones. And I know nothing about IT stuff, so I knew that wasn't going to be something I could do. But I came up with the idea of archery apparel, and back then the shirts were extremely busy. You had the Affliction brand, and I mean nothing against it, but a lot of flames and a lot of things going on. And
Yeah.
I was always being in the fitness. I was kind of an Under Armour guy, and I felt like there was a gap in the market for a real clean, more sleek look, just more of a kind of Under Armour feel.
Yeah.
And so I thought, man, I think I can do that. And I decided to take a chance well, I came up with the name. The name was originally BOWADDICTS. And we even had logos and everything for that. And I was like, it's just a little too much, too long of a word. And then a year later, is where I was sitting in the same tree where I came up with the BOWADX, and then that's where I came up with the ADX. So the BOWADX for BOWADX, and just like, man, I just felt good about it, and ended up going. The Mark Danker created the logo for Major League Bow Hunter, and back then, I don't know if you know. That was when you had Chipper and Jeff Danker and Matt. I think it's
man,
it's been so long now.
I should know this too.
Matt Duff, I think, I believe is it. So Mark, that designed their logo. I reached out to him, and he worked with me, and then he designed our logo and what have you, and felt good about it. Anyhow, we launched it. And man, that, of course, between that and bow hunting, I got into bow hunting deeper, and honestly, to advertise and what have you for BOWADX, I was giving it everything I could in the woods, obviously trying to establish a name, establish a presence in the industry. And I didn't want guys to think there's some guy out here that started this brand and he knows nothing about deer hunting. So I wanted to kind of,
Right.
I hate to say it, prove myself.
Yeah, authenticity to it. Yeah.
Yeah. And so I've been real blessed over the years. Just on the hunting side, I've taken, I don't know how many Pope and young deer. I've taken a lot of 150, 160s and what have you, and lots of 140, but just been blessed. And the older I get, that's a little bit harder because with family and what have you, it's hard to hunt because of the kids and everything, all they have going on, and then the cost of everything has just skyrocketed.
Oh yeah,
and it's hard. I try to do a lot of public hunting, but if I get a chance to do private, I'm doing that too because it's just easier trying to. But yeah, man. So I've been real fortunate over the years to take some really solid deer, but that has kind of helped to springboard the BOWADX side too, because we started in the garage, and I didn't know anything about that apparel as far as how to market it and all this good stuff, and we've sold every state in the U.S. and it's like I think 32 countries now.
Wow.
So been real blessed with that business. So
that's awesome, man. So what was it like going from because you start in the garage, this thing starts taking off a little bit, and then what did that next step look like, and what was it like kind of pulling the trigger on that? Because I know as a what I would consider a small business owner in the hunting industry, it's like when you are trying to take it from a hobby to a business, kind of there's a you kind of got to walk out on a limb a little bit with that. So what was that like for you?
So when we launched the company was in 2013, November of 2013, I think it was. So things were quite a bit different. You didn't have Instagram, maybe you had Facebook, or I know there's, I guess maybe whatever it was. I guess I think there was Facebook.
Yeah.
But everything was different. So back then, a lot of what we did, it was a lot of shows, going to a lot of shows, consumer shows, those really helped to spread the word pretty quick. Archery Talk, which is a forum.
Oh yeah, I'm well familiar.
Yeah. I spent way too much time on that forum, but I was trying to get on different forums, anything I could to create footprints, I guess footprints, because a lot of that was either on the internet and through Facebook or these different forums, and going out and doing as many shows as possible.
Hey guys, sorry to cut y'all off from the conversation. We'll get back to it in just a second, but first I want to tell you guys about Hoot Camo. Hoot Camo is one of the best camouflage brands out there for the blue-collar hunter. The prices, you can't beat them. The patterns are extremely versatile. They work in so many different environments. I have worn Hoot Camo hunting whitetails, hogs, and turkeys down here in the hardwoods, the mesquites, the scrub brush of Texas. I've worn it in the flatland plains of eastern Colorado hunting mule deer. I've even worn it in the mountains of central Idaho hunting elk. It works in so many different places. It is extremely high quality gear, extremely warm, holds up well against the elements. You cannot beat it. Go to hootcamo.com, use the code FallObsession15 on your next order, no matter how big or small it is, and check out everything that Hoot Camo has on there for you guys.
We were able to get a few retail outlets carry our products, and
Nice.
That really helped too. Lancaster Archery carried us for a number of years, and so that really helped too. Because I think they service like maybe 2,500 stores. I forget, but so that really helped to get our name out there. A lot of it was, I'll say Facebook back then. The algorithm was so different. I mean, you could have which we have maybe around 1,000, 1,500 followers back then, but you can make a post, but your post it might get 40,000, 50,000 views, whereas now you could have 20,000 followers and get 500 views. It's just so it is real challenging now to see the growth, and then people are like, how is that? But I really think it was easier to grow businesses back then than it is now, organically. And what I mean by that is without having to pay money. Because now, if you're a business, you got to pay to play, and it's always, you got to boost a post, and because if you don't, no one's going to see it.
Oh yeah, you're paying to run ads. You're having to work all those algorithms just right, it seems like, and then you're dealing with just all of the fake followers, the bots, and all that other stuff out there, the copycats. And then, like you mentioned, just it being more challenging. It's also so much more saturated now because everybody and their dog has an Instagram page about hunting, and they're trying to do something with it. And no disrespect to that. Like, I mean, I want people getting out there and sharing their experiences with the outdoors, but for guys who are trying to take it to the next level, it just adds another layer that they have to work through, Yeah,
it's kind of funny you mentioned that. I mean, to be brutally honest, like I don't get on Instagram. If I get on Instagram, I make a post and I'm off in 2 minutes a lot of times. I think what has happened, and I've had so many discussions with guys in the industry and just your average just hunters, and the common theme I've heard is just burnout, where there's so much content. And not only that, now you got the TikTok, you got the young kids doing Snapchat, the YouTube, and like my wife, she makes her living off of YouTube. She's got a YouTube channel, and she's into cosmetics and what have you. But even that, the YouTube, trying to get new subscribers and followers on YouTube is vastly different than what it was a couple of years. And I think that all has to do with there are so many ways to visually see and watch people do their thing or whatever it is, that it's just so many, all of a sudden that pie gets, there's all these pieces, and with her, even now, because it's like everybody wants to do TikTok, and then all of a sudden you got one person thinking, okay, I got to do TikTok, I got to do Instagram, I got to do Facebook, I got to do YouTube, Snapchat, all these different things, and then you're like, oh man, it just gets too overwhelming. So it has changed so much in the last 10 years. I mean, it's really mind-boggling from what we grew up with, at least what I did.
Yeah.
And so.
No, I mean our brand or our company, I mean that's what we do is hunting and outdoor media, and even then I would I'm hesitant to tell people I'm an expert at it because I feel like I'm constantly having to learn something new about it, right? But
Yeah.
I mean, our platform was around 10 years ago. I wish I was as intentional with it back then as I was now, because we probably could have made a bigger splash if we had been doing what we're doing now 10 years ago. But I mean, you live and learn and grow with that. But yeah, it's constant. We're on all the different platforms, and it's like, all right, when we put this on TikTok, I gotta use these tags and I gotta do it this way, or it's especially with TikTok. And I mean, I'm not telling hunters anything they don't know, but I've had to, like, on a edit or a reel, I've had to make the YouTube version and the Instagram, Facebook version, and then the TikTok version, because the version I want to make for everybody has a dead animal in it or something like that. But I have to take that one clip and substitute it with something else for the version for TikTok sometimes. I've done that before, just to, it's just, you're right. It's constant work with trying to navigate all these different platforms. But
Yeah. It is. It's gotten real challenging, and I hate to say it, I've had burnout, but I mean, it's just the
I
honest
have
truth.
too.
I used to, so I'm big into photography, and I've been real fortunate to work with a lot of different companies on the photography side, but even that, it was easier. It was easier to go out and spend an afternoon taking photos and doing a post, and you make a post. I mean, this sounds bad, but it's the truth. But it was a lot easier. Let's say you make a post and you get 300-400 likes or whatever. Back then, get 1,000 likes, and all of a sudden with the new algorithm, you get 40 likes or 50, and you start saying, okay, is it worth my time
Yep.
to go out and do that? And that's kind of where I've gotten. And I'm almost 50, so the older I get, it's like, well, what's most important for me right now is my family, and so we we still push hard. I would probably say not as hard as we did at one time, because I've realized that I can do a lot of posts, but if, let's say, if we're on the BOWADX side, but if I get a couple of our real strong posts and just boost those consistently, that seems to drive more traffic in than trying to do, let's say, a post every day, every other day, whatever it might be.
Yeah.
And I think that's just because it seems like the only people that see that post are those people who engage with you consistently, your followers, and it's a small fragment of those. So, again, it's just made it real challenging. And I just think that people, they've got so much coming at them all at once. There's so much hunting. If you follow hunting, you've on your search page, everything it's just hunting, and pretty soon it's like, oh man, I just, so yeah, it's just a different industry. And I'll even tie this into it. Like when I hunt public, I mean, it is so challenging now. I'm not saying it's challenging to find spots, but the challenge now is when you hunt public, everybody, they've got access to whatever, I use Onyx, HuntWise, different ones, but they can see the same thing. And most of the time, those good spots, they stick out like a sore thumb, a lot of times. And I can't tell you how many times now, I mean, I don't blame the guys. They're there for the same reason I am. But you go and like, oh man, this has got to be a honey hole. Then all of a sudden there's trail cameras there and there, and there's all this stuff. So that even things like that, it's made public hunting challenging because, I mean, I know I went to hunt Illinois last year and the year before, and I mean, and I got to the point where, instead of me walking way back in there, I'm talking, a mile back, mile and a half, and 9 times out of 10, I've already seen that people are, because they saw the same spot that I shouldn't even say this, but I mean, I get to where I look really close to the road. I mean, there's a lot of spots where people miss. So I will purposely look for areas. I'm like, it's probably not the best area, but because sometimes people they just walk right past it, and so I've had more success, seriously, really close to roads. I'm talking sometimes 40 yards from a main road, and I've killed some of my biggest bucks off of little, that's what people just drive on by thinking I can't be any, there can't be anything in there. So
that and pressure. If you get all these hunters that see on Onyx or wherever that spot, that looks like a good spot, and they're diving deep into those woods, right? That's pressure deep inside those woods, right? So it's gonna that's just science.
I shouldn't even say this. There are things like, if I know where I think the pressure is coming from, I strategically get on the other side because I know they're going to push them. They're going to push. So if I can be on the recipient end of where those guys are pushing those deer, because a lot of times you can see those transit areas, because most likely, if this is where it's at, you're going to have to get there from either here,
Mm-hmm.
and so I will a lot of times try to get to where I think those deer, if they're going to be pushed out, where that's going to be. And sometimes those spots may not look the best, but like I say, I've had a lot of success. So I would say my best success has been in areas of 3 to 7 acres.
Yeah.
Little spots that I find. And I find a lot of these big bucks, man, they like to be, reclusive, and they're just like, they like to be by themselves. If I can find little spots where they're not going to be hit hard by a lot of either hunters or a lot of doe. I mean, it depends, obviously. During the rut, that's a different story.
Oh, yeah.
If I'm not during the rut, I'm kind of looking for areas where I think that buck's, he's kind of solitary type areas, I guess you'd say. So
yeah, absolutely. So public land hunting for you, is that mostly in Tennessee, or I think you mentioned Illinois is what I caught earlier, but
I mean, I've hunted public in a number of different states. Missouri. Well, I was going to hunt public in Iowa this past year, and I got fortunate that I was able to hunt with a gentleman who lives there. So he had about 300 and some odd acres, so I was able to hunt there. That worked out well. But I had some good looking spots on public. I'm not going to lie. I was had the weather. The weather was so bad when we got there. It was either hot. It rained probably 80% of the time. Between that, it was just terrible. Just not what I expected. So that kind of, I was like, I'm just going to keep staying where I'm at. But Illinois, and I enjoyed that. There's some pretty good hunting there's good public everywhere. Tennessee, I've got a spot that's probably 25 or 30 minutes from my house. I was on a fantastic buck 2 years ago, I guess it was, maybe 3, that I was hunting. I mean, for Tennessee, he was just a fantastic deer. And man, I spent once I got him on camera, I spent my whole season on that one buck. I mean, and I had other good deer, but I was like, man. And long story short, but opening day of gun season, I chose not to hunt, and I found one faint trail, and I had cameras out everywhere, and I finally, I got his patterns, and I had to get one picture, and I had it all mapped out, and then I thought, man, I think I know where he's going, and so I found this one. There's a steep cliff, there's a river, kind of a creek area down below, probably 40, 50-foot drop, and I said, man, I really think he's worked that edge going. And I thought I saw where some bedding was that was off this public, and I found a faint trail. I mean, super faint, which usually that's a lot of times that's where I equate the buck trails. A lot of those they're not like the doe trails sometimes, but man, I put a camera out there, and that was the day before gun season, and I had the tree picked out and everything, and I thought, it's opening day of gun on public. I'm going to go hunt my private, and I got it in my stand, hunt private. And man, I tell you, I'd already hunted this deer hard, and I'm up there, and it was 9:03. My phone dings, and there he was, like right, I'm like, no. So man, I get out of the tree, and I'm trying to get in there. Because I thought he's gonna be in that area. Well, so I'll just say I hunted that deer for another 3 weeks hard.
Oh wow.
Didn't see, and there's a local co-op here. It's like a feed store. And I'll go in there and talk to with the guy. He's one of the head guys for the co-op. And I was like, man, how's your season going? He said, I'm done now. And I said, what for? He said, man, someone took my target buck. I've been hunting this great buck. I said, really? He said, whereabouts are you? You hunting? He said, well, it's right next to so-and-so. I don't want to say the public. Right next to, this area. I said, really? He said, yeah. And I said, what part? When he told me, I said, wait a second. And I said, are you down by this creek? He said, yeah, I'm on the other side. I said, oh, no, man. And I said, can you show me a picture of the deer? And he showed me, and I pulled my phone out. He said, yeah. He said, but the deer was taken. Either somebody had already saw where I had got, had everything. And I think either somebody was sitting in the tree that I was going to hunt or within probably 10 yards. When he put his finger on that map where the deer was shot, it was within 15 yards of the tree.
Oh, wow.
And I just sat there, but I hunted that same buck for, like I said, for 3 weeks. He was already dead. I didn't know it. But again, man, I know that these aerial, you get a good hunting app and people can go in there and see this, and they can, and a lot of times that's just luck. I mean, I don't know if that guy had put as much time as I did into it, but it's the right place at the right time. But I enjoy the public. I hunt more public now than I used to. I got drawn for Kansas this year, so I'm trying to decide. I hope to hunt public. I've got a connection for some private, so we'll see down there. But I've honestly in the next 2 days, my game plan was to, if I get a shot at that private, I'm still going to try to, on the way there, pick out some public spots to check out.
Yeah.
But that'll be possibly Kansas this year. Next year, probably Missouri. I hunt Missouri quite a bit. And I used to have a lease in Missouri, and no kidding, my favorite spot hunting that lease was next to public. And
hey folks, if you guys are in the North Texas area like I am, then you need to go to Bear River Archery and Pro Shop in Van Alstyne, Texas. Justin and the guys up there have an incredible operation set up. They will take great care of you and all of your archery needs. They are the official bow shop in North Texas, a Fall Obsession. I love going there, and I'm picky. If you guys know me, I am very selective on who I let work on my bow. I will let Justin work on my bow. They do great stuff. Check out Bear River Archery and let them know that Fall Obsession sent you.
The best deer, the majority of the mature bucks came off the public.
Wow.
And so knowing where that is, I'm like, I'll just go and hunt that area. Because I know the bucks use that area. So yeah, there's some great hunting in public. It's just trying to get into where no one else is hunting. And
oh yeah.
So
no, I'm fortunate enough to have a large piece of private here in Texas that we get to hunt. And I say it like it's a bad thing. It's not. I don't have to tackle public land as religiously or as frequently, right, here in Texas. Yeah. Which it kind of sounds like a similar deal. With anything, you get what you put into it. But just at the surface level, or driving out there on opening weekend of archery or rifle, it looks like a war zone out there with all the cars and pickup trucks parked, guys going in there and hunting. And that's for somebody that is just starting out or hadn't put the time in yet, that can be a little intimidating or a little discouraging. So, and like I said, we're fortunate to have a great piece of private to mess with, and that gives me plenty of work and drives me crazy as it is trying to figure the deer out on that place. But yeah.
Well, I know a lot of guys who put down guys who hunt private. I mean, I've had guys say things to me like, "Man, you don't have a clue. You don't hunt." I'm like, I guess I don't understand that. I mean, if I got a chance to hunt private, I'm going to hunt private. It's honestly, it's a safety factor too, because I mean, some of the things I've seen in public have driven me nuts. And the fact too, last year, for instance, I was on this track in Tennessee, and I saw a couple bucks, probably mid 140, 150 range, which is solid deer in Tennessee. And I'm getting out there, and I found an area where some of the corn had been cut, portions of it hadn't, and so I'm getting out there like at 2 o'clock, getting set up early, and I mean put it this way: if I pull up somewhere, especially if I'm running late, if I see a car in an area and I know there's a good chance he's around there somewhere, I'm not gonna if it gets dark at 5:30, I'm not gonna walk in there at 4:30. I don't want to bust any. I don't want to mess another guy's hunt up. But
Yeah.
This guy comes, and it's literally 30 minutes before dark, and I'm seeing deer and they're running everywhere. I didn't even see. I guess they were, and he's coming, and I'm like, doing this number, and he's like, oh. So he goes back. The next thing, he walks all the way across the field, about 80 yards down, across the whole field. Because I didn't see a single deer that night. But you get things like that, man. And I hate to say knucklehead, but I mean, you got to be a knucklehead not to, if you don't have enough sense to have a respect for somebody. Because if I see it, I mean, even that spot, this is no joke. The day before, I was going to get there, and I was about 30 minutes late. And I pulled up, and there was a car there. I said, nope, I'm not going to hunt that. I'm not. There's areas I know where, I know they could be guys can be anywhere, but in this spot, you just knew most likely someone's going to be right over in here or there. But it's things like that where, if I don't have to deal with that, I'd much rather not have to deal with it.
Oh yeah.
Where where you've gone in, gotten there extra early, did everything, then all of a sudden it's 8:30 in the morning, 9 o'clock. And which I've had this happen plenty of times in Kentucky on public, and this guy's walking right on in there, and just making all kinds of noise. And it's like, oh man,
Come on, man. Yeah.
yeah.
They both have their blessings and their curses. I feel like, and I don't care for anybody ragging on each other for either reason on either side of the fence. Because I mean, I've had people look down on me as a private land hunter, guys who went public, like, oh, you're out there just sitting over down in Texas, sitting over your feeder waiting for your big buck to come in. It's like, no, there's a whole lot more work that goes into it than that. And likewise, I don't want to rag on him for not having a private piece, and just, I honestly think, and this is because I know a lot of public land hunters that I have mad respect for. I think that they're better woodsmen than I am. I honestly think that, because it's so much easier for me on private, once you learn a property, learn an area, learn what the deer are doing, to kind of just get in that autopilot mode and become more complacent. Whereas on public, you're constantly paying attention to every little detail that's going to give you the edge or give you the advantage. And so I 100% think that public land hunters have an advantage as far as just being a better woodsman. And I've been on the most public I've hunted has actually not been in Texas. It's been out west, like, Colorado, Idaho, Montana, hunting critters out there. And just the amount, in comparison to the amount of time I spend whitetail hunting in Texas, I'm like, man, that is not a lot of time. But from start to finish and before and after that hunt, I'm like a sponge, just soaking up information and everything, to prepare for and then execute that hunt. And it's invaluable, in my opinion. It makes anybody a better hunter being on a public land DIY type hunt. Will make anybody better.
Yeah, 100%. And I tell you what's hurt me is, like I say, I've been so blessed over the years to taking so many good deer that, I've had buddies that I've hunted with. They're seeing deer I passed up. Like, man, why in the world did you pass up that deer? I'm like, well, I just, I've just, and I hate, man. There's good about that, and there's bad. Because there's like in Kentucky, there's Fort Campbell. If anyone knows about that area, it is just, if I could hunt I don't say this either, but it's a good area. But it's challenging, and it's one of those areas, like even going to Iowa. When I first went to Iowa, I mean, everybody, you think there's a booner around every tree. I mean, it's just, that's what you just hear and see all these stories. And
Yeah, see the hunting
you get
shows
up
and stuff. Yeah.
there, yeah. And you get up there and you realize, unless you're real lucky, it's not like that.
Yeah.
And, and so, I sometimes I even get mad at myself because let's say if I'm hunting public and I pass up a deer that, he's a good deer. He's a good deer. But let's say I'm trying to hunt for 5.5, 4.5 or whatever. And I'm not to say much about rack, but I usually hunt maturity,
Mhm.
but I can tell you this, if I've got a 7-day hunt, by day 5 or 6, I mean, if that buck I passed up on day 1 or 2, if he's a solid, if he comes through, I'm most likely I don't hate to waste my tag, and I want the meat and what have you too. But yeah, it's just everything's changed because, like you mentioned, the feed. Well, in Tennessee now they passed a law where if you pay, I think it's $50, you can now feed on your property, this is the first time in history, that allowed that. And the guys, there's some guys like, oh, and then you're gonna be hunting over bait. This, I'm like, man. I mean, first of all, don't. To me, if anybody's hunting, man, I'm happy for them. And even with the putting out corn, to me that allows me to pull more deer in there that I can see. I can manage those deer. I can see what I've got on camera. Hopefully, I can get them off the neighbor's property. It doesn't mean I'm going to go in there and just shoot whatever. And I can tell you right now, in Kentucky, you can put out corn. I've put out tons of corn, but in Kentucky, once they shed, those bucks, most of them within a week after shedding, they could care less
Yep.
about the corn piles. Now you can catch them in some cornfields late season, what have you,
Mhm.
but that corn, man, they're different animals. I mean, I've 200 pounds of corn just go bad. Like, what in the world? They just don't touch it. I mean, they'll hit a few days after shedding, but so it's not. I don't know. I just honestly get irritated when I see people put down other hunters that. Again, I'm just glad they're out there, man. I'm glad anybody, whatever. I don't care what they use. If it's I mainly hunt bow, but I'm just happy that someone's out there as long as they're doing it ethically.
Yeah.
They're trying to take an animal ethically. They're eating the meat, or maybe they're giving it to whatever different organizations for food. That I'm all about it. If they're practicing good game land management, what have you. But it is sad that the sport. I mean, even on Instagram and things and stuff. I mean, I've had so much hate.
Oh yeah, it's everywhere.
It's terrible. I mean, I've had some stuff that just like, what in the world are these people? Who has that much hatred in their heart?
Yeah. Now I mean, it's all out there, and it comes from both the anti-hunting side, and we eat our own a lot. And it's like, man, we're all out here doing the same thing, and I completely agree with everything you just said. As long as you're out there and hunting, I don't know what your situation is. If you shot a 3-year-old whitetail and you're tickled to death about it, for all I know, that might be the biggest buck you've ever killed in your life, right? I'm happy for you, man. I'm happy for you. And I mean, we run feeders down here and everything, but it's funny how similar it is just hearing you talk about your experience with corn and what those bucks do, because same deal. Once they start losing that velvet, they turn to different animals. And like, you could sit, and I have been stuck in my ways in the past and done it, where you're just sitting on a feeder all season long. And I get does and young bucks that come in, but I have to hunt different if I want to kill a big deer. That's one thing that, especially this property we have right now, has definitely helped educate me on. Is, I mean, you might get lucky, like you said, but if it's during the season, then you're gonna have to put in the work to get a bigger deer. And on top of that, just down here, we don't get hit hard with like bad freezes or winter until like late January, February, which the season's already over at that point. So we honestly never really see those bucks switch back into that kind of survival mode post rut, where they're trying to put some weight back on, and they are hitting the food sources that we have out there, the corn and that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
That's always after the season that the cameras start showing that, because just it doesn't get cold enough down here quick enough. So
Well, see, that's the problem. Even like we as a kid, we always if we took bucks, let's say mid late season, we let they would hang 8, 10 days, something like that. We let those bucks hang, deer, does, whatever, and it just does not stay cold. I mean, I talked to my wife the other day about when I was a kid or when I was in high school, the homecomings, like in late October or November. I mean, it was freezing. I mean, everybody was freezing to death, and now it's like people are they're in short sleeve shirts, and so that it has made it challenging the last several years. I mean, I seriously, I can't remember a true when I hunted Iowa this year. I had one day, and I was about to head home, and it never got below 33 at all. It one day it hit 33. Besides that, it was
wow.
it was in the 80s when I first got there. And this is in mid November, and but that one day, man, they just broke loose for about 8 hours, 12 hours, and but when I can remember hunting Kentucky, and the ruts were phenomenal. I mean, just insane. And all of a sudden, it's like someone swept a light switch, and the heat. You didn't get that cool weather, and people are like, well, they're going to rut no matter what. But it's cool. I don't care what anybody says. The right weather is going to get them off their feet and doing their thing. And but that's things like that have made it challenging.
Yeah.
And even if you're hunting public, you get in the right spot. If you got the deer movement, and you can, I call it a common denominator instead of denominator, because which is what I did in Iowa. I kept working in the one area, and I kept seeing, okay, they're kind of playing chess with them to really figure out exactly where the vast majority, what was going to give me the most chances of getting a deer. And so, but it took a while on this property. But like you said, if you got your own property, well, you can do it in public. But I will say, if you've got good deer activity, along with that if you're in the right spot with good deer activity, I mean, that makes all the difference in the world. But yeah, it's public is it's just gotten tough, and I think because the cost of leasing has gone up so much that the average guy. I mean, I can remember back in the day, you could lease ground $4 to $6 an acre.
Mm-hmm.
And now it's 25, 30, 35, $40 an acre. It's like, goodness gracious. I mean, you can't. So that's pushed so many guys to public, because they have no other choice unless they've got, some family farm or something like that. So, which they happened to me. My best spots where I've taken so many of my deer, I lost that farm. Some guys, I think, play for the Redskins or whatever. The big man. Basically, I either got hit with Major League Baseball players, and nothing against those, or the NFL guys that were leasing ground on there. And I couldn't match what. Yeah. So you lose that ground. So it kind of pushed me to public, but I have all the respect for the guys who do it. It's just you get old. I'll be 50 in this coming February, and man, I tell you, the older you get, it's. You start asking yourself, man, you're like, oh man, I've just walked 1.5 miles back in here. I got camera gear and all this stuff. You're sweating bullets and whatever wrong. You're going to drop something, you name it, and then you start asking yourself, it's like, oh man, is it worth it? So yeah, but I have changed I have gotten to where I don't go as deep as I used to, unless I'll check it out, but if I can hunt closer and. And I still feel like I've got some good opportunities there, I'll do that. But yeah,
man, sometimes that's all it takes. We on our place, which is private, like I mentioned earlier, but a couple years ago we put in a stand. We call it the camp stand because the whole property is 807 acres. Hey guys, Trophy Edits is a Fall Obsession podcast partner. We all have mounts on our walls that represent a significant moment, a significant harvest in the woods for each and every one of us, and photographs can do the same. I'm sure you guys have pictures from years past, hunting with loved ones or being in the woods with family and friends that also represent those big moments. And what Trophy Edits does is they showcase those moments for you guys, just absolutely make your pictures explode, and to the level that you guys can put them on the wall and also have that memory forever represented in your home, your office, your man cave, whatever it might be. Give Trophy Edits a chance to do the work for you guys. And again, they make those pictures just absolutely awesome with their professional team of editors. So go to Trophy Edits website. The link is in the podcast description. That lets them know that you guys came from us, and use the code FALLOBSESSION at checkout to save you guys some money. And it's like this big long rectangle. So by the way that the crow flies, like you camps on one corner and you could be hunting, a mile and a half, 2 miles from camp potentially, way back in there. We ended up putting a stand like 250, 300 yards from camp because we just kept seeing all these deer. Every time we'd come and leave, there'd be deer running across the road. And that's one of the hottest spots on the property. Just right around the corner, man. Like bucks, does, all of it. My dad, he tells the story from, back when he was growing up and hunting whitetail in South Carolina. He was part of a hunt club out there, and he talks about this one old timer that would take a lawn chair and sit out on the main road by the gate in his flannel, and he'd shoot more deer on that place than anybody else,
Yeah, I don't know what it is, man. I think bucks understand that, and I like the deer out. So in my yard, I have a flat yard where I shoot my bow a lot, and most nights when I shoot my bow, these deer will be 30 yards from a bow target. They just watch me, and last year, Mom and two little ones were out there, and I was shooting, and they kept watching me, and I thought, I'm going to see how close I can get to these deer. I got within 15 yards.
Oh,
of
wow.
those deer. Then about 2-3 nights later, I was started to work on their food plots, and I don't really hunt there, but and I would if the right buck came in. But I was working on plots, and I just got through doing some disking and everything, and so I was going to go in and seed it, and I'm out there with a seed, and they come within probably 12 yards from me. Like they get so used to, but I do think these deer, I mean, they just know, even if there's human activity, I just think they know they're safe in certain areas, but yeah, man, like I say, I've had so much success just hunting closer, and I guess part of it's being lazy, but I don't know. I just, if I see good sign in there, if there's good sign and I see what I'm looking for, I'm like, I'm going to give it a shot. So.
Yeah, there's something to it for sure. I believe that. I'm going to shift gears a little bit because I could sit here and talk hunting with you all night long, quite literally. But I want to know about EUROADX and where that started for you. I hate to hurry the conversation along, but time's flying by. So
yeah, I'm going to show you too. Well, first of all, let me grab a box. I've got one here on the floor. I'm going to be shipping this one out. I QC everything before it goes out too.
Awesome.
I go through and check everything out. I don't know if you can see that. It's kind of this is our UX1. This is the wall system, and it comes, I don't know if you can see that too.
Yeah.
It comes in, it's your directions, your everything you need, and then I'll show you the unit here, what it kind of looks like. So the cool thing is about this here, and so I'll explain why I came up with it. Well, I say, first of all, the way I came up with it was I've got other mounting systems, Euro mounting systems, and but I had a couple of bucks that were pretty wide, and I would just had an issue with them. If I turned them too much, they hit the wall, and I was like, oh man, I wish I had something that would go a little further away from the wall, and so I started kind of prototyping some things here. And I was like, holy cow, that rack looks so much better if it's kind of away from the wall a little bit. So that's kind of how it started. And so I don't know if you can see that. This right here, this is like a mounting plate here. Now, I will say I realized I just took this one off before we got on the podcast. We have a half moon cut here. I don't know if you can see that. Mm-hmm. But the ones that come with them now, the half moon is on the bottom. And the reason I have that is, so let's say you put this on the wall. Now this is the female side. This goes on the wall. Okay, and see that little U slot right there? And I got this loose purposely, but this right here is going to slide in there just like that. I
Oh,
don't know if you
wow.
can see how that fit in there. So it's real modular.
Yeah.
And this allows you to just to focus on this, put it on there. But I knew, let's say someone's putting this on there and they get this bottom screw not exactly right. Well, and it's like that. I wanted to allow them to be able to turn this, rotate if need be for any fine tune adjustments. I wanted to make sure I covered every base, anything I could to make sure the customer is going to be able to use this and have maximum flexibility with it. So that's our wall plate. Again, it's modular. This system, this piece slides into that, and the way so this is our telescopic arm, and hopefully you can see that, and so you can loosen it up, and so you can go in and out with it here.
Nice.
And you've got about anywhere from, and there's two things. Because this just crossed my mind. You can take this arm off, and this front piece here will mount right here. So you've got anywhere from like 2 inches from the wall all the way out up to like 10.25 inches, I think it is. So you can get it out there quite a bit.
Wow.
When you've got a corner area in the corner or something like that, or a post, you want to really turn it. But if you can see this right here, this arm, you've got 360 degrees of adjustability here.
Nice.
So you can set it here. Now, so when I designed this, Sam, I designed it to where this would mimic the neck of a whitetail, because it's so expensive trying to get a deer mounted nowadays. When I was a kid, I could get it done for $125. Now it's $500, $600, $800 or more. So I actually, a lot of times I would turn this up a little bit, just like a neck of a deer. And my favorite, I think it's called like a semi-sneak. I love it where, let's say I've got this arm here, and this is my right, might be your left here, but I'll turn the arm, let's say, to the right, and I'll turn the head to the left and kind of angle it down. And so I usually go the opposite direction of the head as the arm. And even if the arm's straight out here, a lot of times I'll turn this arm, let's say, kind of this way. It's hard to see, this way, and I'll turn that head back the other direction. But because a lot of whitetail have the dominant side, not every one. A lot of times you'll see these deer, oh man, I want that good side showing. And so my whole goal with this was to make sure that you could replicate any mount that you see. You can angle the arm. One of my favorite ways, you can drop this arm down and turn that head up like he's chasing a doe, got his head up, and it looks super sweet. So I'll mount deer. Let's say if I've got 8 or 10 deer on the wall, and I've got several out in our office area, where I may have one kind of angled down with his head up. I've got some up and straight. I've got some straight out, and I'll have this arm maybe pushed all the way back on one, then the other one maybe it's two. I've got it 2 or 3 inches further out, then I got one way far out, and it creates dimension on that wall.
Yeah, that's cool.
And so if you can see the front here, this is our mounting post here for your skull to slide down on that. You can move it up and down as you see, and you probably, I don't know if there's a little hole right here, Allen screw, set screw. You can even, if you need to adjust, believe it or not, people are like, well, why would you need to adjust that? I have got certain skulls, I have to have this thing slightly turned just a little bit for that skull to sit flat. Same way you can turn this, if you can see this right here, because that's kind of it rotates. I've got a skull where if this is not slightly to the right just a little bit, that skull will not sit flat. So that's a good thing about that arm too. But you can adjust it any way you want to, and it's got these teeth here. This is called a Hertz joint, so it's got locking teeth. So once you lock it down, these teeth bite.
Yeah. And
I went with that instead of like a swivel joint, just because I've had heard guys were thought that swivel joint was tight and it wasn't, and they had issues. But we do have one thing I've got hopefully coming here Tuesday with this nut, this locking nut here, that we might have a little enhancement to that. But I don't want to say much until I get it check it first. But man, we've been real blessed. We've done really well with it. The feedback's been really good. We have a tabletop unit, that is just, to me, I guess I'm biased, but I think it's off the charts. I mean, it's so sleek, and I don't know if you've seen it or not. You might have seen it, but the tabletop has been a huge. I've got guys with 5 or 6 of those. They
Wow.
they just love them. And so we're trying to work on some big game options too. I've got a 6x6 elk on one of these, but it's a skull cap, but I had to do it differently. So for elk, because I know you guys are going to be asking about that, we've got to make the skull post a little bit longer, and I've got to change the diameter, the width of the or I call it the U post bracket. They'll work if it was done certain ways. But we've already got the design and everything for a big game,
Nice.
big unit that I'm pretty excited about. But man, I came up with that again. It's really just because I just had issues. I had some deer where I had them setting and they were kind of a little wobbly, and I want to make sure that when that deer is on there, he's not going to move. This is first generation, so if I see any changes to be made, I'm anal about that. I'll make changes. But it's been real blessed. Well, we've launched it in September, and I mean, right now, I'll be straight up. The biggest challenge for us right now is just getting visibility, like even through Google. Because when you start a new site on Google, Google's got to do its thing and find it, and it can take 12 to 18 months really for it to be picked up. You're seeing, no matter, unless you're paying some massive dollars, but we're trying to push that pretty hard on Instagram and through podcasts. But I've been really happy with it, super happy with it, but again, I just want it to look just like a mount, and so that's why the arm, and so we got all that patent, it's patent pending and everything. So we hopefully all that will be finalized. And
awesome, and yeah, that's a really, really cool concept, and you hit the nail on the head with just, I mean, nothing against taxidermy or the cost of shoulder mounts or anything like that, but it is pricey. I only got a couple of them in my house, and each one has been more expensive than the one before, but I think the Euro mounts just look clean, and that when I started checking out the page and seeing what you guys were about and what the products you guys had going on, I was like, man, that's a pretty slick design, and obvious that thought went into it. So I'm a fan. It looks good.
Thank you. Yeah. If anyone can check it out, it's EUROADX, EUROADX.com. And we do sell these on BOWADX as well, so we've got them on there. I did that too, honestly, because we've had BOWADX for so long that it pops up usually on that first page if someone's looking for bow hunting t-shirts, so they can get on there and see the mounts too. So
yeah,
but yeah. And I will say this real quick: we're a faith-based company. I meant to mention that with the BOWADX. We support a lot of charities through it. Most of our t-shirts, they go on the website, they're going to see faith-based apparel. I've got 2 new shirts. I just haven't put it on social media yet, but I'll put one new one out, I think maybe Friday. Then I've got another one I'll probably maybe put out this week. Faith-based tees, but we call it our Shoot It Straight series. For that, but we've basically for every mainstream shirt, like a clean mainstream shirt we'll release basically it's like a faith-based mainstream.
Awesome.
That's kind of our bread and butter. I'm all about that, man, and trying to share I don't want to hit anybody in the head with the Bible, but my faith means everything to me, and to me these shirts are just conversation starters, hopefully, to something deeper and more meaningful, and the stories people share with us about just wearing a simple shirt that opens up a conversation. Next thing you know, they're praying and one's crying and all that. They're just brothers, just
that's awesome.
Speaking. Yeah, man. So that's where my heart is trying to be a good example, and I'm not afraid to share my love for Christ and God, what He's done for me. So because I tell people that BOWADX and EUROADX, they're God's company. I'm just an employee. That's that's how I try to run them. So
yeah, that's an awesome mentality to have, man. Good for y'all. I love that. That's awesome.
Appreciate it.
Well, the clock is winding down, unfortunately. I got a couple other quick things for you, and the first one, before I get to my closing questions, we've gone a whole podcast talking about BOWADX, EUROADX, hunting, public land, private land, archery, and I still don't know what bow you shoot. I want to know what your archery setup is.
So I shoot the prime, the new it's the form. I can't remember what it.
Yeah.
And I've shot prime the last 5 years, I guess.
Okay.
And man, I really love the bows. I've last year I had the new I can't maybe the RVX, I think it was. And I was hunting public, and I got down. It was real late, and stepped back and stepped on my bowstring and popped it.
Oh no!
Yeah. So I had to go back to the whatever the one before that, the RevX.
The RevX,
yeah. But man, the form shoots great. I mean, it's the more time I spend with it. Because at first I was like, man, I don't know. The look was different.
Goofy looking a little bit at first, yeah.
And it's kind of funny. Everybody's like, it's grown on them, but it's a shooter. I'm looking at over the floor, but it is a. I went out and I haven't had a chance to shoot much this year. I went out and shot I think like three at 50 yards. And I mean, they were all touching it. And I thought, well, hey, that's pretty good.
Yeah.
And I didn't even have the sight. I was just trying to get guessing where it should be. But it's a good shooting rig. It is.
I trialed that. I'm shooting prime this year as well. This is my. So I'm shooting the Revix this year. I know it's a year or two older of the model, but man, we just partnered with a local shop down here in Texas, Bear River Archery, and Justin, the owner over there, awesome dude. He's a big prime guy. He carries a lot of different brands, but I shot Elite for a number of years, and I enjoyed my Elites, but this year we were changing it up, and I wanted to do something different. So went in there the shop, shot everything he had, every brand that he had, and tried them all out. But man, those primes, I was impressed. And I, like, over 10 years ago, I worked in a bow shop as a bow tech. And that was when Prime, had the 2-track cam system and all that kind of stuff. So that was the last time I had a Prime in my hand. I hadn't really experienced the new stuff that they got going. And man, I love that bow. There's so many good bows out there. There's so many smooth shooters out there. The biggest thing for me that drew me to it was honestly the grip, though. Because just the way that I hold a bow, for whatever reason, like, I've shot Hoyt, Matthews, and Elite over the years, and every single one of them I've always had to make left to right adjustments. I've had multiple people tell me, man, and it's not that visually it looks different, just how it sits in my hand. It's just got a little bit of hand torque to it, and that prime, it felt better. And paper tuning it, it's the first bow I've ever owned where I didn't have to make any left to right adjustments for the paper tune.
Yeah, so here, that form, I put so many together. And
hey guys, thanks for listening to the show. Hope you guys are enjoying it. There's so many different places that you guys can tune in to Fall Obsession Podcast, and one of them is the Outdoor Call Radio app. Outdoors Dan from Respect the Game TV, he created an app that you can download on any device where you can stream hunting shows and podcasts on a loop every single day. Our show, Fall Obsession Podcast, plays on that loop on Mondays. That's the same day as our new publications on the other apps. And there's also tons of other hunting shows and podcasts on there that you guys can listen to. Go download the Outdoor Call Radio app today. It is free. You can start streaming immediately. And be sure that you follow their Facebook page, because Outdoors Dan does some live radio shows throughout the week. And even if you are not local to those radio stations, his broadcasts are shared on his Facebook Live. It's Outdoors Dan and the Outdoor Call Radio app. Go download it today.
Actually, I took the rest off of my not my RevX, but my other one, or whichever one it is here, and they're all, and I put it on here and I checked. I think it's gonna be dead on, and bare shaft, and I mean, it just perfect. And same way with, I ran shot through paper with the flesh, and then shooting really good. And But they're just I don't know why I hold them so well. And you know what's crazy for me? So I shoot I don't always, but I've got a kicker. I call it kicker, but I've got a sidebar, on mine, um, and I have to put mine on the right side. I'm a right-hand shooter, but most guys have it on the left.
Yeah.
I don't know why, but I have to put mine on the right.
Really?
That's the Yeah, if I don't, man, I have to adjust that bow. I have to get the bubble. If I get on the right side and it's usually pretty super close. That bubble. When I get back, I can close my eyes and open it up, and it's just dead center every single time. And Paige Pierce was talking about she's a right-handed, I think right-handed, but she put her on the right-hand side, and I thought because I had elite too at the time, and I was like, huh, but I put that. And ever since then, I don't know my primes, man. If I run that bar on the right hand side, pretty tight, it just I don't have to worry about any movement. I mean, 9 times out of 10, when I look at that bubble, it's just dead on straight, and that's what I want. Some guys want the bias, but I like it when I pull it back. I don't want to have to. If I'm in the heat of the moment, I don't want to think about anything. I just want to pull it back, and if I forget to look, at least I know I put a lot of time into it where there's a good chance that it's going to be pretty close.
Yeah.
In case I forget. But yeah, man, it's kind of crazy. I don't know why I thought about that, but it just, for me personally, it just, even with that form, I thought, well, I don't know if it's going to need it. On the right, so it might need it on the left-hand side, but it's the same way, man. I don't know. Maybe it could just be me, how I hope.
That's interesting. I might have to do some playing around because I run a back bar on my hunting setups. Actually, this prime is the first one in years that I have not put a back bar on it. I'm playing around with it right now without it to see what I like. But I've always run on the left when I'm a right-handed shooter. I might have to mess around with that a little bit.
Yeah, I just feel when I draw back, get my eyes closed, open it up, and I see where it's at. And if it's consistently on the left-hand side, and I was consistently having to kind of turn this, and I thought, man, that's just I don't want to keep doing that. And I'm on the right side. It just usually it's just holds like a rock. And I had some guys like, why do you not know which side to put it on? So I know which side to put it on.
Trust me.
But this is just where it needs to be for me. So yeah, it's worth the try. I tell anybody that don't fight it. And so yeah.
Man, yeah. Well, that's awesome. They make good bows for sure. And I feel like this year I've this sounds bad. I feel like I've drank all the Kool-Aid out there is to drink. I got a prime. I got a dialed sight. I've gotten all the stuff that's just popular right now, and that's never been me. So I feel kind of dirty doing that.
Hey, you'll love that REVX, man. I absolutely. That's what I hunted with last year because I owned the RVX. When I stepped on it, but the Rev, I mean, they're both great. But, I mean, they're just, I shoot that bow so well.
Yeah.
And it's just one to pull out and just know, I feel confident with it. And they're, like you said, there's some great bows.
Yeah.
I had a buddy of mine, and he shot mine. He was shooting Matthews for a while, and I'm not shot the new Matthews, but whatever. He had the newest one, and he said, man, I'm actually going to try to. he was making a decision to go to prime too. So I don't know, but I know Matthews makes some fantastic. They all do. And Hoyt makes it's just. I've never been able to shoot a Hoyt good that well. Now maybe the new ones I can, but I've had probably 5 or 6 Hoyts.
Yeah.
And I'd always end up selling because I would shoot them next to other bows because usually I've got 2 or 3 bows, and I'm going to shoot the one I shoot the best.
Yeah.
And back then, I remember I had like the Obsession bow, and man, that's just what I shot at the best, and that's what I used, and had a brand new Matthews and a Hoyt, and that Obsession, and that's the Obsession is what I shot the best back,
Yeah, no, I shot Hoyt. Same deal. I had a bunch of them over a course of time, and I had a lot of people that at the bow shop and in my life that were Hoyt shooters and kind of influenced me in that way. That's kind of why I started there, I guess. But then I switched to Matthews. I shot Matthews for a short amount of time, and then we got a deal with Elite that we had for several years and everything. So I shot Elite for the last 7 years, and also great bows. But this year I was just like, man, I gotta try something else. I gotta try something new.
Yeah, GT500 back in the day, the Z28. I don't know if you ever remember those. There was some. I still wish I had some of them, man. I was like, I had the Z28, 2 or 3 of those, and I sold the last one, and I was like, I'll never sell it. Ended up selling it. Did the same way with the GT500. Sold that one, and like, because some of those old rigs, I just like some of the old stuff, man.
Oh yeah, like working in a bow shop back then, there were 4 or 5 bows from like 2 or 3 manufacturers that just every year people were still rocking them, and they'd be like, hey, what's new this year? What Matthews or Hoyt or whoever do this year? And you tell them, and they're like, nah, I'm just gonna keep my old one. And I'm like, man, that's I wish I could do that. I wish I had the patience to do that sometimes.
Yeah. I know, man. Well, I'm looking. I got new breeds over here. I got a couple of those. I've got so many bows, and I shot new breed with. I don't know if you ever heard of new breed.
I have, yeah.
And I was pretty impressed, with those. And I say certain bows I just shoot, and that was a bow I shot pretty well. And but these primes, I just, man, and I know those guys pretty well, and they've actually bought some of our mounting systems here from us for their money boosts. But yeah, man, they're fantastic bows, and I will say I went to, I think it's Khule, Khu maybe LE, whatever, arrows. Started shooting those, and man, I'm super impressed with those. This year they've been a pretty good arrow. I've just, like I said, been shooting those. I think they're about 8 grains per inch. So for whitetails, I think I'm around 405 weight with my arrows. And for whitetails, me personally, I used to shoot heavy arrows, but I don't mind. The arrow I shot for years was 386 weight wise. Man, I blew through everything. There was only one deer, and it was almost a total pass through. It just barely didn't. And but yeah, because last year I was shooting the Black Eagle Rampage, and I think I was about 430, 436. So I shaved off about 30 something. So picked us a few feet per second. But like I say, for whitetails, I don't mind that 400 grain.
No, I can't get away from the Easton Axis arrow shaft. I've been shooting that for like 8 or 9 years now, and I just have not switched. I love them so much, and
I shot those for years, man.
Yeah, a lot of it comes down to shot placement, obviously, as you know. But I have never, on a clean kill and that kind of stuff, I have never not gotten a pass through, especially on a whitetail. Every arrow that I've run through a whitetail, I've gotten that arrow back. With the there's an exception of 2. I had a buck 2 years ago that it made me sick to my stomach. I made a bad shot. I hit him high. He ran off with my arrow, and I never recovered that deer. I was sick to my stomach, man. And then I've had a pig run off with one of my arrows, which down here in Texas, that's kind of the cost of doing business at times. But at the same time, I've run one of those shafts completely through a 300+ pound boar and gotten a complete pass through on that. I run about a 460 grain arrow. I go a little bit heavier on that. But man, I love those shafts. I can't get away from them.
Yeah, because I ran those for a good long time, and I can't remember. So I went to the Black Eagle, I think, because I did a little work with Black Eagle one time. Not kind of, and I think I went from the Axis to the Carnivore, and the Carnivores were definitely a bigger diameter shaft. But I had a lot of success with those, and I went to the Rampage. But these new ones here, I've been pretty impressed with them so far. But and I liked it because they were lighter weight. But if I wanted to add more up front, for better FLC, I could go ahead and do that. But I thought, I'll just try to. I think they're falling around 405. But we'll see how those work this year. So
yeah, well, that's awesome, man. Well, I am gonna hit our closing questions real quick because we are getting to our time. Like I said earlier, I could probably sit on here and talk hunting all night. It's a common problem that I run into. But first question I have for you, I ask every first time guest on the show these questions is, what is either your favorite or one of your favorite hunting memories to date? And tell us a little bit about it.
Man, so I can tell you that right now. It was my first. The one I remember the most was in Iowa, in, I think 2019, and it's when my dad was there with me, and my dad and we've hunted a lot with each other over the years, but this one, dad fell and wasn't gonna be able to make it. I mean, dad. It was cold that year. It was like -13. I mean, it was brutal. Dad's out there with Crocs, and he couldn't. His foot had swollen so big, so much, he could not get in his boot. Between that and his ankle, he probably should have. It was mad. I mean, like triple the size, and he's out there. And poor guy could only hunt out of a blind. That's it, because he couldn't get in a tree, but man, I think he scored 159 and some change, 8 point,
Wow.
real blessed. But it was just that and the reason I say it's special, because this year when I hunted Iowa, my dad, he didn't get drawn and didn't hunt. But I mean, I teared up. I'm not gonna lie, I teared up so many times because I would pass this. There's one restaurant up there that we went to, just a mom and pop restaurant. Passed it, I ended up eating there a couple times. And you're sitting there by yourself, but you just see your dad across from you.
Yeah.
And there's a couple of gas stations, and I don't know why this one, we got gas there, and we had truck issues while we were there, and we thought we put maybe some gas in this truck instead of diesel, you name it, and that's why I remember the gas station. It ended up being a wiring harness, issue. But man, I tell you, just and that whole hunt was just, man, it was something. I don't know. I felt connected out there. I put so much into that, but just having your dad and the older I get, my dad's almost 80, and it's like he may not be here that much longer. So I just seeing that, man, and seeing his face, he was just as happy for me when I killed that deer, when he come down and off this ridge and saw it and everything. He's just hobbling because he couldn't walk. Those are just memories,
Yeah.
and man, it's just. Those are that one will probably forever be etched in my mind. And I mean that and meet my first buck by myself. It was a spike, as you mentioned earlier. I'm happy, dude. I was the happiest man in that county killing a spike. I was by myself, probably 35 foot up in this tree. Can't believe my dad let me. But it seems like that. Yeah, because I've always had my dad with me, but that Iowa hunt, man, it just meant something special, because Iowa's a special place, especially from a boy of Tennessee.
Yeah.
And get experience with your dad. But and I actually took some photos here and there, and I think they were using a magazine or something like that with him. It's with him. It's just kind of cool, you see that. So yeah. So that would be the one, man.
I love that, man. I love the father-son legacy, if you will, and the traditions and the memories that come with that. I'm living that right now as well. I grew up hunting with my dad. My dad is still healthy as a horse, but I mean he's almost 70, himself. So kind of I understand that. I take more value in the time that I get to spend with them and everything in the woods, because especially right now, because my son is 7 now, so now he's wanting to get out there and stuff. So we have 3 generations out there now, so I'm trying to soak it all in while we have that, because it's special times for sure. So
it is, man. You take it for granted a lot of times. I know I do.
Yeah.
And just when I was out there with him, but it hit hard just driving past those places this year. And I even called my nephew, and I was like, I just about teared up seeing the, going past this gas station. When I was eating, I was trying not to be teared up, when I was eating. People probably thinking, "Oh man, I feel sorry for that kid. He's going through." Oh no, it's just
What's wrong with him? Oh man.
Sure.
Well, last question I got for you, Chad, is what is on your bucket list? What is that once in a lifetime hunt or hunts that you hope that you get to do in your life?
Yeah, I can answer this one easily too. I preface this too because first, and it's not an elk. Well, I want to kill an elk really bad, but man, that a red stag. I've always that is my bucket list. I've always wanted one. I just think they're beautiful animals, and I have always wanted to, and I'll say this too, because my wife and I, we went to Scotland. Was it maybe the year before last, or I can't remember now. I think it was the year before last, whatever. They're red stags. They're not like going out to New Zealand. It's like a more, I don't know. It just they don't carry the size. But the problem is there you can't hunt with a bow in Scotland. You can only hunt with a gun. At least right now you can't. So I guess if I were to hunt one, I'd have to with a bow. I'd have to go to like the New Zealand or somewhere like that. But man, I just, I still want to kill an elk really bad because I've just never had a chance to go out there. And I may get a chance to do that this year. We'll see in Utah. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
But man, yeah, it would be, and I would say a moose, but that's my wife. She wants a moose so bad she can't stand it. And I would be just as tickled to go out there and film her kill a moose as it's for me to get one.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, man, I'd love to have a stag. I just love to mount, and yeah, I could go different places. I want a buffalo too, man.
I know. I asked this question, and normally it just keeps going.
Yeah. I met a connection. I went to this boys camp this year. It's called Life Camp USA, and I met a lady, and they do bison hunts. They had a huge ranch, and I guess they'll funnel off their ranch, and they do some bison hunts, and I know what I pay for a quarter of a cow. And I'm thinking the price, it's not cheap, but I'm thinking that's the same price I'd pay for a full cow.
Yeah.
If I were to get it, buy the meat, and I've got bison meat and a mountain. So I don't know, man, because I've always seen these big buffalo and mounts. I thought that'd be super cool.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, but I'm gonna stick with the stag, and just because, man, I don't know. I mean, it'd be at least a fun hunt, I guess.
Yeah. No, that would be an incredible experience for sure. And I hope you get to go on your elk hunt. That's one I'm still hoping to cross off the list as well. That's the hunt I went on last year. Actually, I try to do one hunt every year that I haven't been on before. And It was elk last year. I had one. I'm bow only. I don't rifle hunt big game, and I had one at 50 yards. I just didn't have a clear shot. I was full draw and ready to go. And after experiencing that, I'm like, I got to go back. I got to try again. So.
Yeah. Well, I got a call next week with the guy, and he's invited me to go out. And it's public, and but we'll see. It's hard. I mean, it's been hard because to be straight up honest, if I hunt Kansas this year, even though this is private, it's a big rancher out there that he's not an outfitter, but it's my buddy who is an outfitter. Talk to him and say, okay, this is a good price point, so help me out some, don't give me the but I ran numbers. If I hunt public, I was going to be out, between hotel stay and gas and everything, and I thought, man, it's not a big difference.
Yeah.
And not having to fight the public crowd. That I thought, that's why I told the guy, about this elk hunt. I said, it depends, because my hunting funds, I have like an account for that, and I said it's not it goes quick,
Oh yeah, it sure does.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Oh man.
Well, Chad, thank you for coming on the show this evening. I really enjoyed this conversation. I hope it's not the only time you're on our show. You're welcome back anytime. But I appreciate you accepting the invite and coming on here and just hanging out and talking hunting and BOWADX and all the awesome stuff you got going on. So thank you.
Awesome, brother. Yeah, man, I enjoyed it, Sam.
Well, for our listeners, you guys make sure that you go check out BOWADX, EUROADX, everything that these folks got going on. Appreciate you guys tuning into the podcast, and I will be back with you guys again next week for another episode. Thanks for tuning in.